Who would have known? Out of the blue, on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, your boy's full of lamb chops, mint jelly, spanakopita, for my Greek friends out there, if I said that correctly, and a lot of good things. I think we celebrated like Greek Easter with some neighbors. It was really nice. You know, even though I'm Italian, it was still very nice of them to hang out with them. And then they gave me some gifts because I guess they know about the Poland Springs. What are these? Look how adorable they are. It's different compared to its older brother. But little baby sippy Poland Spring Cups. These are adorable. These are like little mini iron grenades I would throw in the battlefield just in case somebody's trying to sap me. Like a rogue, get him down. Or maybe a marksman hunter's trying to outrange me. Get him down. And then we just, get on top of them. A little hodge. Get around the back. All diddy. Settle down. Not that type of video. But let's pop one of the little baby sippy potions. Oh yes, adorable and cute. I want 50 more iron grenades, good sir. However, much love to you, and thank you guys. Back to the man voice, don't get me angry, alright? However, don't piss me off. Editor, lock it in. However, much love to you, coming to the channel and always supporting your boy. We're actually going live later on tonight. Not for too long, though. We're just going to be doing Sunken Temple, maybe a little bit more PvP, testing things out. But we did test out PvP basically all night last night. So we got some experience under the belt to see how week 2, where is it? Week 2 of the damage aura is, and it's not too bad. I actually like this aura this time around, so I'm going to show you what we're talking about just in case you're a little lost in the pot of sauce. As of May 3rd, a couple days ago, 2 days ago, they implemented the damage reduction test 2. And obviously a lot of things were talked about from last week. Last week it was the 100%. A lot of people weren't really satisfied with it. Warriors were eating really good. I was very happy for them. But overall, the community in a nutshell, it didn't seem like this aura was the right direction. But it seemed like overall that they wanted to test it again within, a further week or so. We didn't know when they were going to bring out the R. We thought we were just going to keep one-shots over and over again, right? Going back to the burst meta, which obviously I don't really care about the burst meta too much. I kind of want the shit evened out and polished. But then again, polishing and Blizzard is two separate things. But let's say at least they're trying right now, okay? Now, they put the damage reduction test 2. And they give us a blue post, so we'll read it. Basically, this is, I'll go over to what I did last night. I'll tell you about the classes I tested out and went against, and we'll talk about that in a second. So basically, last weekend, we tried out the modification to PvP and Season Discovery and gathered a lot of your feedback on it. So this weekend, we ran the second test, and the feedback indicated that damage reduction was too strong, and was a little too strong in general. They're basically saying it was just pretty much not what they intended. And they tried it out, right? So starting tomorrow, which they did, they had the combat tuned for 20% damage reduction from all physical damage done by players and pets, 30% damage reduction from all magical damage from players and pets as well, and for 10 seconds after being damaged by another player or player's pet, the damaged player receives 20% less healing. This would basically, with the multiplication they're adding up, it would cumulative with the Mortal Strike, meaning a character with both effects would take 60% reduced healing, and then they show you the values, the healing received or 60% prevented. They also made some PvE fixes, obviously, because that was just, unintended. They realized that. And there was issues going on, obviously, with Seal of Martyrdom, Hellfire, Shadow Word Death, and Chaos Bolt will again lose its benefits when fire spells ignore absorb effects. So they fixed some interaction issues. Again, we'll enable the R on all Sod realms on May 3rd, which they did. And then they did the weekly maintenance, right? So how do we feel about the aura? So let's talk about the aura. We'll timestamp this here, okay? So last night your boy went in the trenches. Those of you who came live, I appreciate it. You guys saw what it was like from the Paladins perspective of the PvP aura. So understand what I'm about to say right now is just the Paladins perspective. It has nothing to do with classes being, good, bad, or ugly, or busted, whatever the fucking cool kids say nowadays, all right? It was actually really nice. I actually enjoyed this aura this time around, and I actually tested it on my warlock as well. So now we get to say the warlock perspective a little bit, because I'm dipping around in the dark arts. Settle down, back up. You're pissing me off. I'll slap you, then I'll kiss you. However, Yeah, the Paladin perspective. So we tried Reckoning out last night. Now, Reckoning was actually pretty solid. There was times where I would gain my 4 to 5 stacks of Reckoning, and somebody wasn't expecting it, and then boom, we would just snap them. And I think Reckoning has a huge potential later on within the future, especially once we get to 60, once we get other points, like for Eye of an Eye and going deeper down the ret tree to further increase Reckoning's full potential of its massive big burst damage that it should provide when you build up those stacks of getting critted by another class, especially from classes like, a pet from a hunter or a rogue or anything that's meleeing us, giving us those crits in general. So, very nice. It was very fun to play Reckoning last night, and I felt like it had a spot within this aura, which was very nice. Even though last week it was still doing pretty solid, and you guys saw some clips that I put of me doing Reckoning, and it was pretty fun even last week, even though the aura was a little too much. This time around, though, the aura I feel like is getting there. It's just about right, but there can be improvements. So with Reckoning, it felt overall pretty solid, going up against a lot of different melee classes, which I enjoyed a lot of battles last night with the Horde. We also tested Ret spec out, so Deep Ret for the Ret Paladins out there. Don't worry, your boy went back to his roots. I got you. Ret felt pretty solid as well. Believe it or not, Ret felt so good to the point where I was actually preferring Parasomnia over Solthraze the Lasher. I did not like the way Lasher felt last night. It was hitting fast. It was giving my exo procs, the machine, gun style gameplay that you would do in PvE. But Parasomnia felt fucking good. I didn't know if there was a quiet blanket change to Parasomnia, but that thing was procking. Like majority of the night in most of my fights, that thing was procking nonstop. It was beautiful, it was lovely. I had fiery weapon enchant on it as well. So, we're procking, we're getting the vengeance, we're going hard, we're trying to seal twisting a little bit, believe it or not. I don't want to go too much into it, but I'll show you. You'll see the clips, obviously, if I put them down below around here if you already saw them. Who knows what the editor does nowadays. It was looking good, and plus, with the 5 points into deflection, getting the responsive, back, the right away hits, smacking them in the back of the head, it felt really nice overall. I'm just saying, Ret Paladin actually felt solid, and I felt pretty secure with this aura playing this time around. I really enjoyed it. Now, to discuss things about classes that I versed on the battlefield. So let's go back to the screen here. I made a little bit of a note list over here that we can review. So we'll minimize that for now. And we'll look at this here just to talk about things that we're discussing from the overall aura in general. So what I wrote down was basically that there's definitely a noticeable improvement from last week's 50%, which had too much damage reduction compared to the healing power overall. Warriors noticed the biggest change from this, which was good last week, and I was correct about that. I did the testing. I actually put myself in the trenches, and I'm showing you guys the information for those who are not too attuned with PvP or were once PvPers and haven't gave SOD a shot in PvP yet. I'm telling you what it's like, and I tested it all last week, and yeah, the healing was just too much to versus the damage. It was like phase 1, and the healing was just pretty much not it, so it didn't get properly implemented within this current phase. So they realized that the power had to be tuned a little bit more back up, and the healing had to be toned a little bit more back down to find that perfect medium overall. So I think they did a good job this time around with the aura. I think warriors in general noticed the biggest change from last week, and especially even now, which we'll go over in the class section when we talk about classes in a little bit later. Second, this week the damage reduction aura seems to have hit a sweet spot. Now, are there changes for improvements? Yes. Is it 100% perfect? No. But it is good, and I think right now from what I'm seeing, a lot of the community feedback believe that the changes are actually pretty solid. I was talking to people in the Paladin Discord, I was talking to people in my guild Discord, and just seeing some things in general, right? And people seem to have liked this aura overall compared to last week. Not saying that this is perfect. I know there's maybe some specs struggling, and we have to talk about the individual things of classes at the end of the day, because that's what truly matters. The improvements of meme specs or specs that are basically being underutilized compared to other specs in general, for each class in the game. Totally understandable, amigos. I'm with you on that. And don't worry, Papatello agrees with you. So don't stress out. Don't flip out. Calm down. I'm just saying, I think the aura in general is 100% better from where we once were. And I think more classes are starting to come alive within it due to the comparison of last week. That's all we're talking about here. Now, as we go on, further class improvements or specs under lacking on the battlefield. We are not discussing one-on-one setups, just BGs overall and how the class impacts the game. Because I think that's something that we don't, or we tend to overthink or not talk about, is that we have to remember, we're not discussing, just straight one-on-one outside of Ogrimmar, Ironforge type battles out here, or Stormwind, wherever the fuck you are. We're talking about the how you feel in a battleground, how you impact the game as your class, as the spec that you're choosing to play within that battleground, and what you bring to the table. And I think overall, no matter what, there's always going to be a spec that's getting, a bit of the shit end of the stick that Blizzard needs to take a look at, whether people talk about it on forum posts or, they mention it anywhere, in-game, etc. These are the things that we have to bring to light and come to discussion with. They obviously are maybe some specs not being as good as others, no matter what, at the end of the day, because their damage is lacking in certain areas, or they need more talent points within their, class because we're not 60 yet. Totally understandable. And maybe more runes as well. Overall, though, obviously more runes, we all know that's coming next phase, so let's not kid ourselves. That's the only reason I mentioned that. But in general, these are the things that I like talking about, like discussing with you guys. And I also would like to hear from your guys' perspective. Leave in the comments below, what specs of certain classes do you feel can use a little bit more love, and why you want to see them a little bit more utilized in the battleground itself. Leave your comments below on what specs. That's all I'm asking for, and then we'll go from there. Noticeable specs and classes that I did see that were doing good on the battlefield, and this is perfect because I've seen it on both ends. Since your boy now plays Horde on Crusader Strike, I play a Warlock, Affliction, and I'm about to try Soul Link out myself personally, rather than Versin locks that are using Soul Link. I play the Paladins, so I'm on two sides. Now I see both ends, so no more pissing around. I see what it's like from the Horde perspective, and I see what the Paladin perspective on the Alliance. I see the Shamans, I see the Paladins, I see all you motherfuckers, alright? So settle down and lock it in. However, noticeable classes from the Paladins perspective that I saw was doing pretty good. Elemental Shaman. I got two-shotted by an Elemental Shaman yesterday. He just got a really good proc on me. That dude was a dog. Much power to him. But Elemental Shaman seem really fucking strong right now in the BGs. And they have pretty good control, obviously, of the battlefield with their totems. And they're eating right now. Good for them. Much power to them. Sorry, boys, right now. A little bit of the allergies. Settle down. Don't piss me off. I'm about to freaking take a whole bottle of medication. But Elemental Shamans, looking pretty solid. Not going to lie. I'm not sure. I don't think Enhanced Shamans are doing as good as compared to Elemental Shamans in PvP. But obviously, I have some Shaman friends, a part of my, channel. Much love to you guys. And I think you guys are eating. I don't care what anyone's saying. We're not talking about nerfs or what's bust or not. We're not talking about any of that shit. I'm just telling you my perspective of what I've noticed on the battlefield last night. Simple as that. In BGs. So Ellie Shamans, they're looking pretty solid on the battlefield. Hunters, and in my opinion, even more than Shamans, Hunters are looking fucking good. Now, before the aura went implemented, people were hitting with Chimera shots. From what I saw, and when I was playing with my boy Sky on the Horde end, for 2,700 Chimera shot. 2,700! Settle down. Don't piss me off. Almost had a hernia. However, though, now I don't think they're hitting that hard, but they're still smacking. What I'm also trying to implement, too, is not the terms of damage, but what they provide in terms of utility and support on the field. The traps, if you have multiple hunters on a team, it is a nightmare. It is crazy. And it's no hating. I'm just saying. They have very good control of a battlefield. They can change the way people move in certain directions. And it's very fast. It comes back. It's very strong. They're hitting really good, too. They do some pretty good damage. I think I got hit earlier with a Chimera and a multi-shot, I think last night, for like around 1,100. Could go higher than that. Who the fuck knows? But in general, Hunters seem pretty good. I versed a melee Hunter as well. Me and him as a Paladin. Just remember, this is the Paladin perspective, guys. This is not, I'm not going over just my point of view. Melee Hunter had a good fight with them. I won one, I lost one. It's fine, and it's totally understandable. But I like the back and forth. Hunter seemed pretty strong on the battlefield right now in general. Also, last night I didn't notice much warlock from the paladin end, but when I played my warlock, the only warlock I did notice from the paladin was a soul link lock that was fucking me up. But the warlock on the horde end, I seen some soul link locks, some afflict locks, and boy does that look pretty solid. I don't know what's going on with affliction right now, but bro, any of my affliction locks in the comments, is haunt hitting hard for you guys right now? Because haunt is kind of nice, and I'm not gonna lie, this gets me excited because don't get me wrong, I like destruction in PvE destruction, you know, using your incinerate, your chaos bolts, cool stuff. I'm actually trying to get involved with a raid this week with over there on the horde end and see how we're going to test out, you know, destruction and go even further with it and, you know, pop off. But I always been in a flick lock. I always liked affliction. That was kind of my thing in Wrath too. So I don't know if affliction's making this comeback, but haunt looks like it's pretty solid in PvP right now. I wonder if it ever get utilized in PvE where affliction would rise up the ranks. That would actually be pretty cool because I really like affliction. But overall though, affliction felt great with the drain life, the haunt, even on using unstable affliction and, you know, agony and corruption. It was just nice, you know, throwing a death coil here and there. I really liked the way it felt overall, utilizing the pets and stuff. Warlock seemed to be pretty solid right now. Pretty scary, but pretty solid. Arms Warriors, I seen some Warriors in there getting involved, digging into the trenches, getting dirty, charging in there, intercepting, going hard. And I like the way Warriors are looking right now with their Mortal Strikes and stuff. It seems like Warriors right now, even compared to last week from this week, it seems like they're doing a little bit better now. For any of my Warriors, if any thoughts and concerns, if you have any information, this is just from my perspective of seeing how I was on the battlefield when some Warriors were fucking going my back line and they were getting healed by the priest and fucking people up. So Warriors looked like they were doing a very solid job, and I actually liked the way they were moving around the field. Even some Warriors on my end, on my team that we had last night. Majority of the matches, Alliance won some of them, Horde won most of them. It's totally fine. Sometimes you have good Alliance, sometimes you have bad Alliance. It is what it is. One class, though, that I definitely noticed on the battlefield was Bear and Resto Druids. Those Druids were a problem, and you put two of them together, they weren't dying. It was very strong. It seems like Druids are having a little bit more of a presence on the battlefield just from night one. Just from night one. Maybe we'll test more out tonight as well, just to get a further, you know, perspective of things. But overall, though, night one, Druids did have a noticeable presence where I was like, hey, this dude's not that easy to kill. Or hey, that Resto Druid, he's doing some pretty good pumps of healage back there. Almost better than a priest in a way. It was kind of fucking nutty. So it was pretty nice. I enjoyed, you know, going up against these classes, trying to, you know, beat them and, you know, feel that accomplishment of getting that kill and helping out the team, capturing the flag. So that was pretty dope. Overall, though, Druids to have a presence. I like Druids. I never had an issue with Druids. And I think, honestly, it's cool to see more Bear Druids involved as well. I always loved Bear Druids. Pretty dope spec as well. In class in general. Rec and Ret Paladins. I already went over this a little bit earlier, but yes, they feel so much more better. Even in general, you know, just the fact that we don't need to use, you know, weapons like the Lasher in PvP and only just rely on just fast exo spamming. I can actually use the Parasomnia. I felt last night the Parasomnia was viable, and that made me really happy, stuttering again. It made me really happy as a Paladin because I love the classic two-hand feel of holding a badass sword and swinging it. I mean, dude, like, you know, one of my favorite, you know, animes is Berserk. I love Guts. I'd done a Guts build in Elden Ring. Nothing better than holding a badass fucking two-handed sword and swinging it, and you see a cool ass number pop on the screen. That's just my thing. I love the oomph, you know, the feel of smacking somebody, and I love that Parasomnia was up there and it felt good, and the procs were happening. It was really nice overall. In general, it was a really good time. I think Paladins, from last night, the future seems a little bright. I'm not going to lie to you on where we can possibly go with this. Rogues still felt solid. I didn't notice like Rogues 100% all the time just completely nuking everybody, but I'm sure Rogues can leave your comments below on what you feel, what's going on your end, if you're liking this aura or not. However, I did notice some Rogues smacking some motherfuckers here and there. Don't get me wrong. Excuse me for my French, but if you don't like it, back up, I'll hit you. However, though, they look still pretty solid. No hate on them. Much love to the Rogue cathedrals over there and their dark quarters of the Dark Brotherhood. However, priests. Priests look good still as well. We versed a team last night where it was just Shadow Priests, it was mages, and it was a lot of caster-based team. Actually, it was a heavy caster-based team with elemental shamans. They had range hunters. It was kind of crazy. But priests were actually still pretty strong, still having a good presence on the field, and basically causing an annoyance for obviously of killing the more tankier classes. Same thing with rogues too. Even though rogues obviously are more, they're very focused on the one-on-one and isolating people out or guarding a flag. Rogues are very sneaky, and they were very smart rogues last night that I was seeing last night, watching the healers in the back and trying to sap them, take care of people on the back line. So rogues have perfect. I like the way they utilize their kit as well. But priests looked really nice as well, utilizing their kit, had a good presence on the field. Obviously, with their dispersions and the homunculi actually seemed pretty good last night. The homunculi were kind of annoying from a paladin's perspective, which I kind of enjoyed as well, because you want those homunculi not to feel super strong, but you don't want them to feel super weak. You want to find that perfect medium at the same time where you notice their presence. Easy to kill though, but noticing the presence. But overall, for my priests, leave your comments below on what you guys think. Once again, understand paladin's perspective. I'll say it over and over again till you get into your fucking head. However, though, classes I noticed not as much. And this is no hate to the Mages Cathedral. As always, I thank you for the Conjured Warders, of course. So, no hate to you, amigos. I just didn't notice mages as much. Now, I know mages, overall, they have good, utility, maybe stopping people from coming up a hill, maybe using Blizzard and stuff like that. Obviously, a Deep Frost mage in PvP is usually a problem. But I didn't notice it as much to the point where it was, like, overbearing. I saw some Living Flames and Living Bombs here and there, but, it is what it is what it is. We cleanse that off, we take the damage, we get healed. Luckily we had some good healers. I didn't notice a super problem with mages overall. The minute I usually got to them, if I were able to isolate them out after they use their blink or their ice block, hit them with a nade depending on the scenario, we would usually nuke them down and kill them. I do think mages do offer some very good overall utility on the field, and they can control certain things. I believe they can remove curses as well, if I am correct. In general, yeah, I think I need to see a little bit more from their end. But for my mages, brethrens and sisters of all classes in general, but just for my mages, leave your comments below and let me know what you guys think about the current feel of mages in PvP. Do you think there could be an improvement on them? Do you feel like they're not as strong or utilized compared to a lot of the other classes I mentioned? It's just something I didn't notice too much of last night, because I would see them on the field doing some chrono preservations here and there, but it wasn't too overbearing. Some frostfire bolts here and there, but it wasn't to the point where I was like, holy shit, like this class is a super problem right now. I'm sure there's some nasty mages, but leave your comments below. But as we go on to the further part of this video, let's discuss it. When will Aura 3 come out, and is this a step in a better direction? Now, is this a step in the better direction? I think, honestly, this Aura, for SOD, for the purposes of testing SOD, I think this Aura is needed. Because right now, at the current moment, like, the burst meta compared to the Aura is not it. We don't like the burst meta. Let's all agree on that. The burst meta is not it. Now, is it fun that you get to 1-tap or 2-tap people at times? Totally understandable. Does it always happen? Absolutely not. Obviously, you can avoid the 2-tap depending on your class, your kit, maybe some engineer stuff that you had to, cancel a cast, to, draw out a fight longer. There are ways to play around it and think when it comes to PvP, whether it's open world or BGs, correct? So, obviously, it depends on how hard you're sweating if you're bringing in consumables, if you're that type of person. But overall, though, when it comes to just the root of the game, separate all that aside, is the Aura good? I have to say this Aura is good after further testing of last night. We're going to go more in depth tonight and try it out more. On Hello Jtello Twitch TV, by the way, which will be streaming Sunken Temple there later on. So that's going to be fun for sure. So we'll stream for a little bit PvP, do a little action, and then probably go off. But overall, though, I think this is a better step. I think more individual spec and, class adjustments are always going to be needed and always going to have to be tested, whether they want to, even fix, my class or any class or in general. It's just something that, it always needs to be looked at no matter what, just in case, one class feels way too overtuned than the next. But at the end of the day, I'm just happy with the results, what we got right now. So that's all I really got to say about that. There's really not too much I want to go over in the video besides the testing that we did. I'm not here to call out any classes being, better than others or not. I'm just saying I do think no matter what, classes that need improvements can always use those improvements for specs that are heavily underutilized within BGs or open world or even in PvE in general, right? So that's about it. Thank you for coming to the video. I have nothing else to talk about. I hope you enjoyed it. Much love to you. I'm sure we'll have another video tomorrow or one of the days after that. I'm still overcoming the allergies and the infection that I had at the same time. What a fucking bummer that was. But overall, though, I appreciate you as always, and thank you for coming to the channel. Keep on keeping on, amigos, and as usual, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out. This stream was brought to you by Oatmeal Raisin Cookies. For $1.49, you can save a paladin today.